What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
What is going on, everybody? Tuesday night. If you're new here, welcome in. If you're coming back, we're happy to see you. For those who didn't, we're glad you didn't. No, we're not. It's really sad. Like the video, hit subscribe. Don't miss a Dynasty Points episode. This is a fun one. Again, gentlemen, we always say we seem to be fortunate enough that every time we do a show, news has happened. And today, that definitely is the case. We have a couple fantasy relevant trades that went down today. One that Jakob, I'm sure, just wants to talk about. So, hey, if you play IDP, maybe today is your day because you're going to get a little bit of defense talk because, like I said, we're not going to be able to keep Jakob away from doing so. What up, everybody? Dynasty Points, Jakob Sanderson, Ryan Heath, Lucas Gilbert. We got everybody in the chat. Some disappointing stuff today. We wanted to see some stuff, didn't happen. So we're going to talk about trade deadline. The Kyler Murray not so soft benching. We are going to build our Dynasty QB tiers. We're going to talk our player picks and talk about some comments that got left because some were hilarious and some I'm disappointed in. So we're going to do that towards the end. Gentlemen, let's kick this off. I'm the boot. I'm the curmudgeon. I always say the same thing. I talked about it on the Dynasty Points mini pod earlier. Whatever your expectations are for your favorite fantasy assets, right? Lower them in terms of getting traded. There was the Breece Hall stuff. Chris Olave is going to get dealt. Teams don't often just get rid of upper tier offensive players at the deadline. It's like a lot of defensive players, some offensive linemen, and some kind of, wide receiver 2-3 types for NFL teams. So let's talk about the players that did get moved, kind of what their impact is real quick. Jakob, I see you're chomping at the bit. Let's talk about the wide receivers that got moved because look, people want fantasy first. We'll do the fun stuff so everyone doesn't leave.
Let's talk about the shitty wide receivers.
Let's talk about the shitty wide receivers. The one I want to talk about first, the one that I'm the least excited about is Jakobi Meyers because this is a team that, for wide receiver production, we've kind of been begging for more all season. I saw you were a little bit more excited on the timeline today for Jakobi Meyers. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's funny. This is the deal that I think is the worst real life acquisition, but I think the better fantasy acquisition of the two wide receiver trades. Travis Hunter, we know, is out for at least 4 games. The reporting on what exactly his injury is remains unclear. I'm working under the assumption that he is going to be out or heavily limited for the entire fantasy season at this point. Brian Thomas Jr. suffered a high ankle sprain in this game. We're getting the classic, it's a low-grade high ankle sprain. Has a chance to play this week. We'll see. I would suspect he misses at least 2 weeks. I don't know how. It would have to be the lowest grade high ankle sprain history. And we also know that, wide receivers playing through or coming back from high ankle sprain tend to see a pretty significant decrease in production. So I think Jakobi steps in as potentially the wide receiver 1 for the next month or so on this team. We know with Trevor Lawrence, he's had a better rapport with these middle of the field intermediate guys from a fantasy perspective than he has with outside wide receivers. With Brian Thomas Jr., people have made the claims about what he was with Mac Jones, what he's been with Trevor. We've seen, though, that Trevor has been a fantasy-friendly quarterback for guys like Christian Kirk, guys like Evan Ingram. Jakobi Meyers, of course, fits more into that category. I think what I'm most interested to see early on is how much of the slot work does he get versus Parker Washington. I view them as both guys who can play inside or outside, but are better playing inside. And that's really the role I think that you want them in if you roster one for fantasy. So I think he is a probably back end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 rest of season if he plays the slot in 11 personnel over Parker Washington. And that is a reasonable if. The last thing I'll say is he's just hasn't been playing very well in Las Vegas this last year. I was on the opposite side of this from Ryan when we talked about Amari Cooper last year being traded to the Bills. So maybe I'll be wrong, but the notion that every time they asked him, they're like, "Hey man, do you still want to like be traded or do you like it here?" He's like, "No, I want the fuck out. I don't want to be here." Like that makes me think he's maybe got a little bit more in the tank that he showed in Las Vegas, where he actively didn't want to be for the last 2 months.
The Devontae Adams route, right? Or he played so bad he went out. Now, because you were on the other side of this from last year with the Amari Cooper thing, how much of it is just simply because he's playing with Trevor Lawrence now? Is it just like a little bit? But I'm kidding, by the way. No.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this offense. I still think this offense is going to mostly suck. I mean, like Trevor's not been very good this year, and they lost Hunter, who I think is their best offensive player, and they lost Thomas, who a lot of other people would think is their best offensive player. And yeah, that hurts. And now what they have is probably hobbled Brian Thomas, and they have 2 slot wide receivers, and they'll eventually get Bretton Strange back. Like there's no explosive element to this offense at all. So I don't think they're going to be very good. I don't think the Jaguars should have done this. I think at best they're going to squeak into the playoffs as like the 7 seed. And I don't see why you would move a round 4 and a round 6 pick for that, even though I recognize that wide receiver was in need.
Yeah, this has round 1 loss to the Ravens written all over it. But Ryan, where are you at with this? I know in the fantasy points projections chat, we were discussing how often these players play immediately after being acquired, and then the success rate for trading for wide receivers in season isn't exactly a slam dunk either. Where are you at here? Does this move the hat? I'm reading the comments. Move the needle for you at all with him? Buy, sell? How are you treating him?
Not really. I kind of think that Jakobi Meyers hasn't really been all that motivated to try super hard and to play super hard for most of the season, since he's been asking for a trade the whole time. I think he will be more motivated now, and he has kind of always been a player where he can command a bunch of targets in the middle of the field. So like before he asked for a trade over his last 11 games, he was at 9.8 targets per game. Like, yeah, he can command a bunch of volume. He can step into all these targets that are going away from Brian Thomas Jr., from Travis Hunter. But yeah, I would ultimately mostly agree with Jakob that he can be like on the wide receiver 2-3 borderline. Probably not like a huge fantasy needle mover. I guess the thing I would add here is that when Brenton Strange does come back, he's probably going to be the piece of this offense I'm most interested in it, just from like a positional eligibility perspective, where Strange was one of the few receivers that was not having like these constant drop issues with the Jaguars this year, or who was, knew the playbook, wasn't having like the Travis Hunter kind of like mental mistakes and all that. He's been like a really dependable guy for them. He should be back in the next couple of weeks. So I do think we could see kind of a return to the version of this offense where it was Trevor Lawrence just spamming Christian Kirk and Evan Engram with the low ADOT targets, where it is just Jakobi Meyers and Brenton Strange now, where they're both going to average between 10 to 13 PPR fantasy points per game. That's pretty good for a tight end for Brenton Strange. Doesn't really move the needle for Meyers. That's kind of where I'm at.
That makes sense. Anyone else have anything different, Lucas? I'm pretty much right in line. I'm not like in a hurry to buy at all. I'm actually more inclined to sell than I am to buy someone like Meyers, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's sell for 2 for sure.
Yeah.
If that's out there, buy for 3 if you need it. I had one thing to add quick, which is the Las Vegas side of this. Like, if you have any hope for Jack Bash, if you have any hope for Dante Thornton, I would abandon that. He doesn't play the same role as Meyers, and he was a healthy and active last week. If you have any hope for Jack Bash, I'd probably also abandon that. But he does at least have more of a plausible role overlap with Jakobi Meyers. So like it's something I'll be monitoring over the next week. It's probably just going to be 47% target share for Brock Bowers.
Yeah. The biggest Raiders takeaway is just that Brock Bowers doesn't have to play in line anymore. He can just play wide receiver for the rest of the season, essentially. And I'm going to be super wrong about everything I said on him preseason.
Which, by the way, he ran 4 routes in line this week with Jakobi Meyers. So he's basically already a wide receiver.
Do we care about Trey Tucker at all? Like, he had his amazing game. He's had he's had 4 games this year with double-digit points. Like, maybe he sees a little bit more.
Start him in a pinch. Like, he's going to run every route. The only guys that they have on that team that they have any real interest in scheming the ball to are Bowers and Genty. So, like, Trey Tucker's going to run 100% of the routes on a team that features Michael Mayer and one of Jack Bash or Tyler Lockett as the other guys that are full-time running routes. So, like, yeah, he's probably going to see an 18% target share, and he's a totally fine bye-week filler. I don't think he's, like, that good.
No, he's the type of player I'm selling off news if somebody's hyped up about it. I mostly feel the same way about the 2 rookies as well. I feel like this offense is just going to consolidate just more to Bowers and more to Genty.
Dude, all right, we didn't dunk on Dante Thornton enough. I don't know if you guys saw the Pete Carroll quote of why he was a healthy inactive. It basically came down to we had to see what Tyler Lockett could do. We had to see what 35-year-old.
And they lost the game targeting Tyler. Not that it was Lockett's fault; they got tipped to the line, but it just is like very funny that they lost the game on a 2-point conversion attempt, throwing to like the corpse of Tyler Lockett on a 2-6 team while they were completely scratching their 2 rookies. It's very funny.
Gotta see what he's got in the tank.
Oh my goodness.
I don't have anything in the tank, by the way. We can confirm.
I'm just looking at the rest of the season schedule for the Raiders, and it is rough. You have Denver twice the rest of the season. You have Philly once. You have Houston once, who's giving up nothing. Cleveland just in general, not necessarily for wide receivers, but that's a tough matchup. At least they get Dallas at some point in time.
Broncos without Surtain now are not really the same in terms of how scared I am of the wide receiver matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, their pass rush is still ridiculous, and the Raiders O-line sucks. So that probably just eliminate any chance they have to do anything. But without Surtain, it's a little bit of a different.
Yeah, I mean, it's now an average secondary compared to like an elite secondary.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know. This is kind of like a ridiculous run for them at the end. At least they have Brock Bowers. That's all.
All right, that's enough Raiders talk.
I'll say this: the next time somebody gives me some sort of Terrell Owens, Randy Moss comparison for a Vegas Raiders wide receiver, and I have to have flashbacks to Brian Edwards and now Thornton, I'm just ignoring them. I'm over it. I'm done.
Maybe I just wasn't in the streets enough with Thornton, but I feel like Brian Edwards was so much like more hype than Thornton.
Yeah,
there was like I mean, it was funny because like most of the reason why I was so tilted about the Thornton hype was just I was like, I feel so confident that Besh is going to wind up being better, but like, and I think that is true, but it's just completely meaningless because they're both matter. So it's like there's no real winner in the Besh versus Thornton debates of the summer at all. But yeah, I mean, it was like as a person who was heavily invested emotionally in Dante Thornton the last couple of years, it was a real like. Yeah. Are we sure about this? Because he could run like 90 routes on the Tennessee Volunteers as like a senior. So I was like, I don't think he's going to be that great, guys. But anyway.
Hey, he is really big. He runs really fast. Yeah, Geno Smith just
shot plays per game. Great.
He hasn't had a catch since week 3. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I completely even forgot that he was.
Than he ever ran in a season in college.
That's insane. Revolt said it best. Brought in Amari Cooper, who legit retired before even playing, and now they have Tyler Lockett. It's insane work. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hit on the next wide receiver that did get moved. That's much more exciting to me, anyway, to think about. Sit tight. We'll be right back.
This is Nick B, and I'm reading this ad because I was my fantasy league's biggest loser. So if you want to win your fantasy league and make more money, head to fantasypoints.com to get the edge you need.
50% off right now for everything at the site. You can use promo code Dynasty and you will get 15% off of the 50% price. Works out to be roughly, 62% off everything on the site right now, from the AI tool to everything else on the site. There's still, look, if you're playing redraft and listening to this for some reason, 1, play Dynasty. All right. 2, we love you for hanging out for the entertainment. And 3, there's still money to be made with our betting and props if your team is hashtag out of it because you weren't hashtag subscribed before the season. So you can do that. Now those links are in the description. Ryan, one of your favorite players got traded today. I'm happy. My co-host for Market Report, Andy Buckler, and I were kind of going back and forth. He wasn't as excited. I am of the he doesn't play for the Saints anymore, so I'm very excited. And now he gets to play for who I think is, maybe the front runner for MVP and Sam Darnold. If you don't like it, you can at me if you want. He's absolutely balling out. My prophecy of 4 years ago is coming true. But let's talk about Shaheed because you are the Shaheed guy.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Rashid Shaheed on the Seahawks. I guess I'll say, like, in Dynasty, I don't know that now is the time to buy. The time to buy was the last, 5+ years, probably, like his entire career. I think at age 27, going to a new team, you don't need to take on that risk. But I do think he could produce in this situation here. For those who don't remember, Shaheed did play for Klint Kubiak last season in his 5-game sample in which he had a real quarterback, Derek Carr. Shaheed averaged a 27% target share, which was much higher than Chris Olave in that sample at 21%. Just under 70 receiving yards per game, more than Chris Olave, and just under 15 fantasy points per game, which is about the wide receiver 14 over that period last season. I do think that Shaheed can work here. We have seen him benefit from sort of the Kubiak deep play action bombs, which has kind of been the signature of this offense. We have seen mostly Jackson Smith and Jigba benefit from that this year. I think it can be Shaheed that just gives them kind of another option on those types of plays. Kind of all the chatter this week has been about, wow, the Seahawks just play heavy personnel and pass out of it, and every single defense, especially the Washington Commanders, will just match them with base personnel and get completely gashed through the air because they are not defending the pass. They are really setting up to defend the run, which the Seahawks don't do well anyway. Defenses keep taking the bait, and Jackson Smith and Jigba keeps averaging nearly 5 yards per out run. I think Shaheed kind of benefits from a lot of the same environmental things here. I think he immediately just plays over Cooper Kupp into receiver sets if Cooper Kupp is even healthy, which he probably isn't. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Also washed.
Also washed. Also, it's Cooper Kupp, LOL. All that. Didn't need to dunk on him that hard, but yeah, I think people understand Cooper Kupp is not like a thing anymore. So yeah, very excited for Shaheed. I think he can be a top 24 wide receiver the rest of the way. He's going to be more like he's like a guy you plug in like a low end wide receiver too is probably where it averages out. I think he has like the 18+ point spike weeks and a lot of the 5 or 6 point weeks along the way. Because this is still a relatively low volume pass offense. There are going to be weeks where it's only JSN that catches the bomb, Shaheed doesn't catch the bomb, all of that. But I am pretty optimistic at how this is going to turn out overall. He's going to be a usable piece for you in fantasy for the rest of the season. So tell me why I'm wrong, Jacob, because it sounded like you're more excited for Jakobi Meyers than for Rashid Shaheed.
We're gonna do a Shaheed versus Myers rest of the season bet. You can just pay. You can make it double or nothing. You can just pay me out that Brock McCarthy bet already. So I think real life. I love this move. It's one of easily my second favorite of the trades that went down today, behind the obvious one. And that's because I think Shaheed does 2 great things for them. If they are able to continue to live in this world, and I wrote a tweet thread about it, and then I saw Scott had a separate tweet thread about it, and he had some just hilarious numbers. When the Seahawks face base defense, so if you're a Madden player, you get base defense, that's 4-3 or it's 3-4. They are averaging 14.4 yards per pass attempt and 4.8 yards per carry. If this is when the Seahawks are in 12 or 21 personnel, so they either have a fullback or a second tight end on the field. If you play nickel against their heavy personnel, they have 5.1 yards per carry, which is higher, but like barely by 0.3. And they have 7.2 yards per pass attempt, which is literally half of their yards per pass attempt versus base. If teams continue to do this, then what I suspect will happen is that they're just going to continue bombing teams over the top repeatedly with extreme success. And Rashid Shaheed is one of the best in the entire league at absolutely shredding those situations. So being able to have him as a secondary wide receiver, Smith and Jigba, home run. If teams eventually do what I think they should do, what I expect like the Rams to do, what I would expect a team to do in a playoff environment, is say, no, we're not going to let you just dictate our coverage every time you bring a second tight end on the field. We're going to sit back and nickel. We're going to dare you to beat us with your pretty mediocre running game. Well, at that point, if teams are just going to play you in nickel and dime regardless, your heavy personnel kind of stops helping you in a major way, I think. And so then you want to have an 11 personnel counterpunch that actually can make teams pay. And they didn't really have that before because they didn't have much at the wide receiver position beyond JSN. Rashid Shaheed is a huge upgrade over that. They could play Cooper Kupp in the slot with Shaheed and with JSN outside. They could also put JSN in the slot. They could put Rashid Shaheed on one side and Torrey Horton on the other side and just bomb teams from 11 personnel repeatedly. I think it gives them a lot of optionality. And, we were talking about the issues of wide receivers changing teams mid-season. That's not going to be an issue here. Rashid Shaheed just played for Klint Kubiak last year. He knows the offense like the back of his hand. So I think this is just an absolute home run, knock it out of the park for the Seahawks. It's absolutely awesome. All that being said, for fantasy, I guess I'm just less sure. Like JSN is leading the entire NFL in target share, I think. Just feels right. I didn't check it, but
I think you're right. Yep.
And currently they are a pretty run heavy team. Maybe they changed that. They're probably feeling way better about Sam Darnold right now than they were before the season started. They just added a wide receiver, so maybe this juices their pass rate up a lot. But if they stay kind of the way they are, it's a little tricky. Is Shaheed going to run 100% of the routes? I don't know. I suspect they still will want to use Kupp to some degree. I suspect they'll still want to get Horton some plays to some degree, and they're still going to play in heavy personnel a lot. So I think he's more of a high upside but very low floor, volatile back end wide receiver 3 for fantasy. I kind of liked him on the Saints, where they just throw 45 times every single game and play fast from behind all the time. So I don't think it's a big upgrade for fantasy, but I absolutely love it for real life. And if they do just install him as an every route player the rest of the season and they juice the pass rate, yeah, way higher upside because of the efficiency of the offense than what he had on the Saints.
Yeah, I was hesitant to be on the buying train of Horton after 2 touchdowns. I'm always a little bit hesitant on things like that. Now I'm definitely doing so, but I'm not all the way out. I feel like he's important to note here. He did look good. He got some opportunities. It probably just kicks the can down the line a little bit, in my opinion. But I'm not abandoning Horton. Like, I wouldn't sell for anything you can get. I'm not running out necessarily to buy as cheap as you can. I'd poke around and I'd ask. And I feel kind of the same way about Shaheed. I'm kind of just comfortable with what I have. So what do you think in the next couple days? What do you think his market's going to end up at? He's going to be probably into the second for like trade for a second territory across consolidation sites.
Fine.
And I wouldn't. Fine. Yeah, that's not something
that's fine. I wouldn't be offended on that on either side. He's a really good player. He's going to get a good contract next year from Seattle or someone else. He's good. I have more important news for you, Tom. Shane Bieber has opted in to his $16 million play option. He is back with the Toronto Blue Jays next year. Your thoughts?
I like that. Yeah, no, I like that. We were texting during that, and you asked why he didn't come out of the bullpen. And that home run is why he shouldn't have come out of the bullpen earlier. He was good. He wasn't like, Cy Young, but he was good. I'm happy to $16 million for a starting pitcher in baseball is kind of insane. So happy to have that update. Thank you. Hopefully we get like 185 innings out of him. That's good. I like that.
So I am curious in Seattle, does this mean like we're just calling Elijah Arroyo dead for this season, and we'll try again at some point in time next year?
I don't know. I don't have any thoughts on Elijah Arroyo.
Yeah, I mean,
he was like,
him
okay.
and Horton are like dead for the year to me.
The issue with I think Arroyo is more dead than Horton because it's more conceivable that Shaheed is off the team next year and prices himself out. I think they probably intend to keep him, but who knows? AJ Barner's going nowhere, and he rules. Like just a really, really great run blocking tight end, has been adequate enough as a receiver. I don't see why Arroyo would ever become more than a part-time player for as long as Barner is there. So I don't think you're going to be starting him much because I think he's going to be a 2 tight end set only guy. Barner seems to be the inline guy to me.
I mean, I know that he was coming off a knee injury, like through the pre-draft process and everything. I was hoping at some point in time we would see something from him just because he is an elite athlete, but just had to ask.
We've seen some signs. Like I think he can be. I just think he can be a more useful real life player for them in a half snaps role. I just don't know why they would run 11 personnel with him over Barner outside of late downs. Like I think Barner's just a really good NFL player who unfortunately has very little fantasy value.
I agree. But he just falls into that man, I wish this tight end got more targets category for me, and there's about 10 of them. So he's out to me until I see something in general. Like
he got drafted by the Chargers.
Yeah, exactly. It even had like Mason Taylor level type games where he just had back-to-back insane target shares. Like it just was not a thing. All right, that's it for that. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Kyler Murray outright benching, because this was doesn't seem like a soft benching.
It's a hard benching. It's a hard benching.
This is take a seat, kid. We're moving on. So sit tight. We'll be right back.
45 seconds? Nah, f*** that. This ad is over after I say fantasypoints.com.
So if you are a listener to the Dynasty Points mini pod, we were sitting there discussing that Kyler Murray's value has probably fallen too far, almost to a hilarious level, because when I checked all the consolidation sites, he was 1 spot ahead of Bryce Young. And to me, I went, that is insane to me. And then we get to today, and there was, he's going to get traded. I saw he could get waived, which that was ridiculous. And then there was, we named Brissett the starter because it's a short week. And then not that long after, it was, he's still hurt and needs time to recover. And then there was the tweet where Gannon said that, no, we were just going with Brissett even if Kyler was healthy. So there was a whole roller coaster of Kyler Murray emotion and news that hit. And I'm surprised. I will say this. I will be buying Kyler Murray. I was selling most of the offseason. I sold in season. I sold quite a few shares. But if we're getting like below Bryce Young prices, I will just buy that in general. He was still like an 18 and a half point per game player. If I'm not mistaken, it was ugly. You didn't want to watch, but he scored points. Those are my type of quarterbacks. Those are my gross level buys. If I can move like a Bryce Young to do it, I'll do it. Scary though, in this regard. Well, I'm sure we're going to hit on what this means for Marvin Harrison, who, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it's not so bad. And then obviously Trey McBride still looks awesome. He's like quarterback proof, it feels like. So let's talk about it. Jacob, Kyler Murray, hard benching.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything that you said. I thought that he was overvalued coming into the season. In his early years, he was a legitimately elite fantasy asset and a legitimately good starting quarterback. And we kind of gave him some grace coming off of the ACL. But what we'd mostly seen in the years really since his third year in the NFL and beyond is that he had transformed into a average to below average real life starting quarterback and a good but not great fantasy starting quarterback. So I think he will definitely start again in the NFL. I would probably guess he even starts again at some point this season for the Arizona Cardinals. But like, if we think about it, what is like the 22nd best, starting quarterback in the NFL, who when he starts is probably like the 12th to 15th best fantasy starting quarterback? That's like kind of how we viewed Daniel Jones for like most of his career on the Giants. Like before he became perma-benched, before he became an MVP candidate, like somewhere in the middle of there is kind of where Kyler Murray is. I think that he has major issues that, and I saw Ben Solak put this similarly, so I'm kind of cribbing from him. You can build an offense that makes sense around Kyler Murray. The problem is that the way that the current meta is going is just very opposite of what Kyler Murray can bring to the table. Like the way that we're seeing these offenses now go is, we want to get heavy personnel. We want to play more under center. We want to be able to rip these deep digs over the middle of the field off of play action with the second level moving up. Like that's kind of what modern passing games are built on. And, you're seeing guys that fell out of favor 5 years ago when the NFL was in its spread era, finding more success now than they were then. And by the same token, you're seeing guys who I think succeeded more in that spread era starting to really struggle. The fit with Drew Petzing has always been bad. Some people have really hated on him. I've always been more of a Drew Petzing defender, but I agree that he has not done a great job of tailoring his offense to Kyler Murray's strengths. I think that what we've seen with Jakobi Brissett is that his offense is pretty decent. It's just kind of rigid, and Kyler Murray's skill sets do not fit it. So I bet if Kyler can go somewhere next year that's willing to build a more spread-based play style around him, he can have a reasonable degree of success and be resuscitated. I would buy him right now, but I probably wouldn't want to pay a first. And I suspect that might be where some of his fantasy managers want. Like he's kind of in the Fields zone for me, although I think he's a better quarterback than Fields. But I also think that Fields, like one thing you can never say about Justin Fields anywhere he's ever been is that he doesn't have elite fantasy upside, because he always has. And I don't think Kyler Murray actually has elite fantasy upside anymore. He doesn't like running the football. He's never been that great of a passer outside of his second year. I think he's more of a high-end QB2 with a reputation of being a QB1 in fantasy. And so I'll try to buy low, but I don't know if the price is going to be where I need it to be.
Yeah, for the most part, I agree. He's one of those, if you are a rebuilding team and you have a quarterback like, I don't know, Dak, Trevor Lawrence, Michael Penix, and you want to get rid of some points on your roster, I would start asking around, see what you can get on top for some of those guys that are playing, right? Like a Trevor Lawrence, like Dak, right? Get those points off your roster, pick up a Kyler with, a snack on top. I currently have him in a 2 seconds tier. That's kind of where I feel like the price is going to settle, right in around like a Cam Ward. That's where I have, I should say Scam Ward. We have Will Levis at home. That guy is terrible and he sucks. And I'm mad at everyone that yelled at me to just watch the film, bro. He's awful. Ryan, what do you have on the Kyler Murray situation? Any hope for like Marv moving forward? Does it look actually better with him, or is that just a product of the Cowboys?
So I was gonna do a bit where I pretended like Eric Burkhart had texted me some inside Kyler information, and then I was just gonna read off the Adam Schefter tweet where he's just carrying water and like reminding everybody about how totally injured Kyler Murray is. That Jonathan Gannon made sure to clear up afterwards. Just pretend I did that. Everybody laughed. It was hilarious.
Great bit.
I'll give the normal Kyler. I'll give my actual Kyler Murray take now, which is I do think maybe the only place I differ from Jakob is I think there's a chance that he goes somewhere else and starts running more. And maybe I only say this because I was like way in too deep this offseason on.
But he doesn't like to.
People say that all offseason.
He says that.
Opposite, or at least from what I was gathering. Kyler, anytime he was asked about it, it was, I'd like to run more. I want to run more. I'm going to run more. Anytime Gannon or Petzing was asked about it, it was kind of like, we don't Like I like when he runs and then he throws, but it was a clear no from the coaching staff was how I was always interpreting it, was why I wasn't really in on Kyler, was what he hasn't really run under this regime. It wasn't when he had the ACL injury in 2022 that he stopped running. He still ran that year right when he came back. It was the season after when the new offensive regime came in where he stopped running nearly as much. So he's getting up there in age. Like, guys will also tend to run less as they get older. I'm not saying this is like a done deal or anything, but I would leave like a candle on for, can Kyler Murray average 19 to 20 fantasy points per game again? I think he can, and that he can run again. Where, I don't know. The problem is that Kyler is locked in contract where he is due, I believe it's 36.8 million guaranteed in 2026. Then he has no guaranteed money anywhere on his contract after that. So if he's going to be somewhere else, some team needs to eat that, or that something needs to happen there. Like it is not like an automatic, he just goes somewhere else. Like we're seeing Kirk Cousins sit on a massive contract. His team didn't trade him. He's just sitting there rotting as like a really terrible backup. Never got traded. Maybe that happens with Kyler Murray. Maybe he's just plays well in his couple games or whatever he gets at the end of the season, and he's back with the Cardinals again, and we're having the same exact conversation. It is not like a guarantee. It's not a straightforward path to, oh, look, he's on the Steelers and he was like the best cheap quarterback super flex buy of the offseason. Like we have a long way to go before we get there, would be my other contention with what's been said.
Funny you say that, because Kyler Murray, whoa, why am I hearing myself here?
I don't know. You're echoing. Check your mic settings.
That might have been me, but I'll mute myself.
All right.
Oh, okay, you're good.
Haha, it was Ryan. Funny you say that, Ryan, because Kyler Murray is the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback in 2026. That is my guess. Arthur Smith will get a mobile quarterback, and look, if he got relatively useful milli maker winning weeks out of Desmond Shitter, imagine what he could do with the talent like Kyler Murray. I'm just saying, maybe Arizona eats some of the contract. Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back. Something. I'm telling you, it could happen. It could happen. That is my guess. That is where Kyler Murray plays football in 2026.
No.
Jacob, do you got anything on the Marvin Harrison Jr. stuff? Because
it's better. I think it's always been somewhere in between. Like he's not as good as we thought he was going to be as a prospect. If he was, like, Kyler Murray's not that bad. Like, it would have been fine. But he definitely gets an upgrade from a quarterback who can run a conventional offense and hit him on deep dig routes. So yeah, I don't like. I don't really know what there is to say about Marvin. Like, hey, it's possible, right? He's only in year 2, so maybe it is possible that he gets up to being that like super elite tier. We definitely didn't see like mega elite production at all from JSN through a year and a half, and right now he's like the best wide receiver in fantasy football. So it's certainly in play for a guy that has that level of pedigree, and maybe even worth the price of admission. But I don't think that that's super likely. I also think it's like he's not a bust. I think the most likely scenario is he's just going to exist as a totally reasonable, startable wide receiver 2 for a very long time. But I don't know. That's kind of boring, but that's what I think is the most likely scenario.
I do think we're going to look back on this, and whenever Marvin Harrison Jr. was going for a first and a third, I'm going to be kicking myself on some of the times that I turned that down in hopes of like chasing Lad McConkey, but then being turned down whenever I offered 2 firsts for Lad and being like, okay, guess we're not acquiring one of these young year 2 wide receivers then.
Yeah, I think ultimately he's going to end up settling. He could end up settling it as like a Michael Pittman Jr. archetype type player. Probably never like the big play guy, but like a good volume. right? Base type wide receiver. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see how the offense works with I imagine if he keeps getting like 7 for 95 and scores 3 or 4 more times by the end of the year, his price is going to be pretty rock solid. Like he's not going to lose anything if that's kind of the stat lines we see. I'm interested to see how it works without it being Dallas. I'll just say that. Dallas helps a lot. Helps a lot. A lot. All right. Anything else to add? Cardinals, benching, trades. Jacob, we didn't let you
well, yeah. I mean, look, the trade of the day. I mean, I wrote a huge thing about it on Think About Thinking. If you care about all of my thoughts, you can check it out. I wrote like way too many words. I talked a lot about the Leafs. So Tom, you can really enjoy that part of it. Yeah, I think it's awesome. I love what the Jets did today. How can you not? You know, they're a team that's going absolutely nowhere, and they traded away 2 guys on big contracts at the peak of their value, where their value can basically only decline from here, and they get some really valuable draft capital. That's awesome. From the Colts perspective, and I think that this is something that we should take for Dynasty. You know, we often do shows on here talking about Dynasty strategy, talking about when to trade futures, when not to trade futures. Ultimately, I don't believe in hard and fast rules of never trade future picks, always trade future picks, always go all in, never go all in. I think that there are teams that are more and less positioned to make aggressive win now moves in any probabilistic game, including Dynasty Fantasy Football, and of course, including NFL. I look at a team like the Patriots, for instance, and do I think they could have traded a 4th and 5th for Rashid Shaheed? Sure. But, you know, it makes sense that they were not the team making this massive move because they have, I think, and I think a lot of people would agree with me, the guy at quarterback, a guy who is going to be an elevator of their franchise for the next 10 to 15 years and is probably not at his best right now. And the team is not going to be at their best right now. So to me, if they went and traded 2 future first-round picks for someone, I think that would really hamstring them because I don't think this is the Patriots team they should be going all in on. The Colts don't have that. They don't have a young guy. They certainly don't have a prime superstar like a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen. They have a team that I think can legitimately win the Super Bowl this year. I'm not saying that they're the favorite to come out of the AFC, but I don't think it would be a shock if they were able to get there. We just saw the Eagles win a Super Bowl with, I think, a good but limited quarterback in Jalen Hurts. We saw the 49ers almost win 2 Super Bowls with a pretty bad Jimmy Garoppolo and a good, but even more limited then than he is now, Brock Purdy. And it's just that the Colts' path to being that Super Bowl contender is much more fragile than a team with a Josh Allen or a Mahomes. They need like 15 to 20 players to be good. I look at their roster. They're starting 11 on each side of the ball. I think that they have legitimately a better than average NFL starter at 20 of the 22 spots right now on their roster. That's awesome, but that's a way harder thing to sustain for more than 1 to 2 years when you're requiring 10, 15, 20 players to maintain their level versus, you know, a team like the Chiefs who can just say, as long as Patrick Mahomes is on our team, that is our championship window. So I think we have realistically a 1 to 2 year window where guys like Taylor and Nelson and Buckner and Moore and Ward are all in their prime. And let's just fucking go for it. And we probably won't win. But if we don't do something like this, we're definitely not going to win. And fuck the future, because I don't think the Colts are positioned to be a contender in 2028 through 2030. So let's just have fun and do it. I think it's awesome. It's super fun. If anyone wants to jump into Thinking About Thinking, you can read all my thoughts on how he's going to fit into Lou Anarumo's defense and the blitzing schemes and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm really, really fired up and it's fun.
I'm happy for like rostering Taylor because again, like you said, like they're going for it. They're gonna, right? They kind of want to have their best player doing what he does. So I like it for all the fantasy assets, honestly. In that regard,
kind of on that, like really quick, don't want to take too much time. Jacob, why do you think Vegas hates the Colts so much? Like, so they're like huge favorites really against the Falcons this week. After the bye, they're big underdogs to the Chiefs, of course. 1.5 home dogs to the Texans. 3-point dogs to the Jaguars, 3.5-point dogs to the Seahawks, 3-point dogs to the 49ers, 4.5 at the Texans in week 18. Like, I don't understand. I am pretty convinced by this team and this offense. Like, the Steelers have their black magic that they use like every single time.
Yeah, that was the most predictable voodoo game.
Yeah.
I even tweeted out pregame. Yeah, I don't understand that. It's very odd. I mean, yeah, I don't really understand it, because the two teams that like no one really expected to be Super Bowl contenders this year, who look like it in the win-loss column this year, the Colts and the Seahawks. And if you look at like the quote unquote analytical models, there's one on like Nate Silver's website, ESPN has FPI, there's just cumulative EPA. Like, these teams' profile is really good. The Colts profile, they're second in FPI, they're second in cumulative EPA per play, combining offense and defense. They're top 5 in Silver's model as well. So all of the like nerds are all in on the Colts. Vegas has, I think, caught up to the Seahawks being legitimately good. They haven't given the Colts that respect in a way that I think is odd. That being said, the record against the spread this year is pretty unreal. I think that they're 6-3 against the spread, or 7-2 against the spread, whatever. Yeah, I don't totally get it. I do think that they're very good. And it's a weird thing where, like, once a team that's built this way is good for a second year, it seems like everyone believes. Like, if I was to tell you the Lions would win the Super Bowl this year, no one would like bat an eye at that. Like, everybody would think that's a pretty reasonable thing. Last year, they were the Super Bowl favorite, or the favorite to come out of the NFC. And it's like, realistically, I don't think there's that big of a difference between how we're built and how the Lions are built. Like, we have a quarterback who has been good at times, was horrible at other times, is currently playing very well. We have an offensive system that's built really well. We have good players everywhere supporting this, non-stereotypical Super Bowl winning quarterback. So it's like, I don't really know why we're viewed so differently than the Lions, but we are. And I think that it seems like everybody thinks Jones is going to turn into a complete pumpkin. And I guess I don't view it as that binary. Like, the way that our O-line played against the Steelers, he will be a pumpkin. Like, Ryman and Smith were getting their asses beat around the edge over and over and over again. I don't think that's going to keep happening every single game. They usually play very well. And when Jones is put in favorable spots, he plays well. So we'll see. Do I think they're going to win 3-4 playoff games in a row? I mean, the odds are against them, but I think that they have as good of a shot as anyone.
Can't wait for that round 1 loss to the Ravens. All right, let's...
No, we're getting the bye, bro.
Move on. No.
We're getting that fucking bye.
No, the Ravens aren't even making it, but I digress. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to build some tiers. Everyone's favorite thing. Sit tight. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
45 seconds? Nah, f*** that. This ad is over after I say fantasypoints.com.
Boom. Almost had it right. There we go. Now we're locked in. All right. This is the process. I've updated my tier sheet. Jacob, you recently did yours. We've done Dynasty rankings updates on the website. Time to put it together. Obviously, we're putting these... Look, this is for Dynasty. We'll make as many tiers as we need to have this make sense. So, should we start top to bottom? Bottom to top? Where do you want to go? Jacob, floor is yours.
What if we went alphabetical so that I don't have to find every single guy as we talk about them?
Oh, jeez.
That's the Ryan gets to be lazy option.
That is my worst nightmare.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
We're not doing that. One thing I will say, we can start just number 1 is Josh Allen. I think that's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those that have not done this with us before, the whole idea is that these are our aggregated tiers. So we all have to, I mean, I guess we're not all going to agree, but we all have to democratically, consensusly come to some sort of understanding of where to put everybody. But yeah, let's start. I think the easy guys at the top of the S tier that I can't imagine anyone will disagree with is Allen and Jackson, right?
Correct.
Everybody agrees with that.
Yes,
agreed.
Correct. Where the hell?
Middle third row. Middle third row.
Logos, Ryan.
Ryan saw like 6 different black guys. He couldn't tell the difference. He's from the north.
my
Actually, he looked at Lamar. He was like, wait, we're doing the running back tier list?
Jesus Christ. All right.
I don't know if you heard Ryan, but America's going woke. This stuff won't stand anymore.
Oh my God.
Jacob, I have
We
like
have-
a plant in my apartment. Come on, I'm clearly like a sensible adult with
Okay.
like.
Yes,
Oh,
the
I'm
plant
just
is
gonna
really.
stop talking.
Yeah, I was
What's
gonna
Jacoby
say.
Brissett doing in the S tier? Anyway.
I mean, Jesus Christ. All right. I
Oh,
do
the chat's
have.
unsubscribing, Ryan. Unbelievable.
I do have.
They're so offended.
Jacob, I did move one quarterback into that same tier.
Let's hear it.
I'm not sure if you did or not. I moved one out, and that's Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I have another. I haven't done my rankings update this week, and I will move Daniels out based on the injury. But I have one guy that is in that tier.
It's Drake May.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Drake May.
Heck yeah.
The ceiling stuff from Drake May.
Let's go, Tom.
haven't-
Welcome to the Resistance.
I haven't seen. Oh, this is why I haven't seen the like ceiling stuff. That I guess maybe some have wanted. Like we've got a couple 27s. We did have the 34. That was very nice against Cleveland. But for me, it's I don't think he is in the. He's definitely not in the pylon category, so he can go here, and he's 23, and maybe they actually make an acquisition for a player that can help him on offense, that isn't a running back they hate. Yeah, I think he's an S tier for me because I think he'll be a top 6 dynasty pick in Superflex drafts. So I don't think his production puts him there, but I think not yet. But I think it's his draft spot is going to be there regardless. I think he's new Herbert, and I think he'll take the Herbert spot in the first round. That's just
Well,
for
look,
where
I'm
drafted.
a Herbert defender, and I
1.617.
kind to that. I'll say he's currently QB5, maybe different depending on your scoring settings, but based on the ones I'm looking at right now, he's currently QB5 in points per game. He's 0.4 off of being top 3 in points per game. And I think that there's upside for more in 2 areas. One being their skill position players are still pretty mid. And I think most of the degree to which we're boosting up guys around him is because Drake May is good, in my opinion. And also their schedule has just been like a nonstop turnstile of the dregs of the league. So every time he's had these explosive games, they're up by like 20 in the third quarter. Like, I think if we can get a game, I don't know if it's going to happen this year. They just keep playing terrible teams. But like at some point, he's going to have a season where they have games against teams that fight back when they play well. And like if we could get him in one of these shootout games like the Bengals have every single week, or like against a Dallas, or like against one of those teams that is fun, then I think we could see potentially that 40, 45 point mega ceiling, because the component parts to me are there. Like the rushing is there, the passing efficiency is there, the deep passing is there. Like he has the component parts. It just seems like most of this year, like when he's really played well, it's been like against Cleveland or against Carolina, and it's just like, oh, we're 7 minutes into the third quarter, this game's over, and they're going to hand the ball off to Terrell Jennings until we can all go home.
Yeah, it's not Terrell Jennings. Yeah,
You just summed up the Patriots fan experience for me very well, Jacob. Yeah,
right,
no notes.
He's crushing in the games that he's supposed to, and we shouldn't hold that against him, right? He's crushing New Orleans. He crushed Tennessee. The Cleveland game was a weird game because Cleveland doesn't often get beat. Like their offensive line got beat to hell, and they still put up some yards. I think a lot of it because Cleveland couldn't move the ball, so he had it a lot. But yeah, like I said, he's been beating up these teams. Miami, that Pittsburgh defense was really bad when he played them. Carolina, right? He struggles against Buffalo. Sure, that's going to happen. Year 2 starter to do this. I think he belongs in this tier. And I would actually make an argument that Herbert probably belongs back in that tier as well. But I would hear that out.
I think I'd be a tier down with Herbert just because the age, like Maye does not project as high as Allen and Jackson, but you're getting like 6 years on them. Herbert's the same age as Allen and Jackson and projects more similarly to Maye. So I would view him as the next tier down.
Yeah, no, I would be exactly with Jakob there. They're the Herbert and Maye are like the same guy for fantasy. You get the year difference. Like, is Maye potentially going to have like a Justin Herbert arc where, yeah, right now he's like the chosen God's gift first round startup pick. You have to take him in the first round of startups, and then he goes through a couple years where he like slides into the second, and then maybe he has the resurgence. Like, I think that's probably what Maye's dynasty career arc looks like. And that's like good, to be clear. Like you're totally fine with that. You're getting production. You have like very safe banked value and everything. Maye's not going to be like a must draft for me in the middle of round one of startups or whatever, but it's not going to, I don't think you're at risk of having like a CJ Stroud experience, is how I would put it.
Yeah, because he's not the pylon, right? That's always, I'm always anti-pylon going in the first round unless you're Joe Burrow. And even then, even Joe Burrow is probably a little bit overdrafted considering every other year you don't have him for 10 plus games. But for
Joe
a
Burrow's
non-reaching
really
quarterback,
Flacco.
What's that?
There's really no difference between Joe Burrow and Joe Flacco anyway.
Oh my God.
Say it. Joe Flacco's elite, baby. Been saying it for a long time. But that's the exact reason why I don't do the pylon quarterback thing. Like you just nailed it right on the head. So, yeah, I think that's where I'm at. What should we move on to? Do you guys want to move on to Jalen Hurts?
Well, let's just maybe the fastest way to do this because we had done this before is what if I just throw out names that I think should go in the next tier, and then basically if everyone agrees, then we just don't talk about them, and if someone disagrees with one, then we'll hash it out.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I'll throw out. Well, we already have Herbert in there, and I agree with that. And I'll also throw out Patrick Mahomes, and I'll throw in Joe.
All right, so we got Mahomes.
I didn't hear the second name you said after Mahomes. Sorry.
I said Mahomes. I said Hurts.
Hurts should be there.
On the left. Beside Jakobi Brissett. Between Brissett and Winston. Second row.
Bro,
look for the Eagles.
You're not beating the allegations right now.
It's so much pressure. It is. I have never drafted Zach Charbonnet in my life, Jakob. I will not stand for you making people think I have. Okay.
Oh my God. I also said Jaden Daniels is in the middle between Dart and Jimmy Garoppolo. There you go. Oh, you were over him. There you go. And the last guy I'd said was Joe Burrow, who is near the beginning, I suspect, based on.
I don't know if Burrow. I don't think Burrow belongs.
Let's discuss that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I have one issue so far, but
go ahead.
Well,
what's the issue, Lucas?
I mean, I think that we have to put Jalen Hurts in the S tier. We're not talking about real life quarterbacking. We're talking about for fantasy, and Jalen Hurts is still an elite fantasy quarterback. He has the rushing upside. Sure, it's not been as good this year as it has been like historically, but he's still just ridiculous. And as long as he's going to keep being ridiculous, I think that he has to be up in that tier.
He's got a couple 30s.
I mean, I get it from a scoring perspective. Like every individual year in redraft, he should be in the same tier as Allen and Jackson. I just have the issue in Dynasty where I don't think he's as good as those guys. And I think if there's going to be a year where he gets exposed from a real life perspective and the bottom drops out really fast on his value. And I don't want to be holding the bag at S tier prices when that happens. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year or next year, but that's just why I've always moved him down a little bit. Like what's happening with Kyler Murray right now. And I'm not saying that's going to happen next year, but that's why I don't view him as that highly. But I get why other people do. I get why you would, Lucas.
I think
Patrick Mahomes is outscoring Jalen Hurts this year. Like,
yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is having a crazy year. Like he's having to have a crazy year in order to outscore him.
He's just having a Patrick Mahomes level year. I'll say I would keep him in A. I would also keep him in A. I agree with mostly with what Jakob said. It's Burrow for me. Burrow for me is not in that tier, in my opinion. He's 28, right? Getting up there. in turn, right? But he doesn't run. Everything needs to break right. The Bengals defense is going to continue to break right for him. But it's a personal thing. I'm just kind of over missing him for like seasons at a time. I just think there's other quarterbacks that I would rather have every single one of those other quarterbacks over Joe Burrow. And I don't think I'm ever clicking Joe Burrow at his price. So that's why I started with him.
I agree he's like my last guy in A tier, but I don't think he belongs down with like the next tier of guys we're going to talk about like whatsoever. Like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are locked in with their contracts as Bengals for life. Like, as you've said, this defense is never getting better, or at least it doesn't feel like it's ever getting better. Like, I just don't see any reason that Burrow isn't averaging like 21 to 24 fantasy points per game anytime he's on the field. And I don't know. I am not going to be the guy that's predicting injuries, that's saying because of the past injuries, he's going to have more future ones. Like, I think if you want to have that conversation, you could maybe have it with a Jaden Daniels, who is actually very undersized and does not play like it. If like that, he's the one I would most understand, like entertaining that conversation for, of is he ever going to stay healthy? Like Burrow, he has had the healthy years where he's just such a huge advantage. More than any pocket passer ever really has been. So I think he's clearly in the A tier for me.
Yeah, I don't like. I get he has consistently gotten injured. I just don't really know. Like, I don't see anything about the way Joe Burrow plays that suggests that him getting injured is predictive. Like, it just seems like he's gotten injured in aggravating ways. But like, he's a pocket quarterback. He doesn't run. Like, I guess he does take like unnecessary hits because he extends the play, but that applies to like half the quarterbacks in the NFL. Jaden, I get the concern. I mean, that was kind of the concerns when he was coming out as a rookie, right? It's like he plays recklessly. And if he plays less recklessly, that's less effective in Dynasty. So I get the injury concerns more with Daniels, but I also think his ceiling is really high and he's really young. I would have all these guys in the A tier, but that's I put them there for others to discuss. So my thoughts are not as important at this point.
Yeah, Burrow's the least desirable, I feel like, of those quarterbacks. But yeah, he's arguably the best pocket passer, best statue quarterback in the NFL whenever he's healthy. And I think that I very clearly want him on my teams more than anyone who's going to end up in the B tier. So,
well, let's go through the B, and maybe we can adjust later if we think someone belongs more with the B. All right, I'll throw out names again, and then we can debate them. This is tougher. So here's the names that I would propose throwing into the B tier, which there's also just way fewer tiers on this list than I have like in my rankings. So I'm making it up on the fly here. But that's part of what makes it fun. So I would throw Caleb for consideration. I'll speak really slowly for Ryan. I would throw Jordan Love in here for consideration. I'd throw Jackson Dart in here for consideration. And I'd throw... Then it gets trickier because there's other guys that I have that I don't know if they should be in here or the next tier based on how few we're having in the rankings. Based on how much work. I'll just throw them all out and we can discuss them. So the next guys up that I would have in B or C would be Baker, Purdy, and Nix. Probably a few other guys you could throw in there too.
No, I think that's pretty good. My biggest concern, at least from those, is going to be Purdy. He just doesn't seem like the others. And I think like what we're seeing is that whoever is with Shanahan is going to be good. So I just feel like he's the most replaceable out of them. And then also, I was about to say the younger thing, but Mayfield's not that young anymore. Neither really is Love at this point. He just feels young because he's, newer to starting. But yeah, I think Purdy, at least for me, would be a tier down, but I'm okay with the rest of them.
Okay, so Brock Purdy is, let's see, he is guaranteed $46 million next year. Actually, these are not as big guarantees as I kind of thought they would be. 11.9 in 27, nothing in 2028. So I thought I was about to dunk on Lucas and say he's locked in. He is Shanahan's starting quarterback, literally no matter what happens for the next 5 years. That's not actually true. He is for the next few years. I think Brock Purdy's quite good. I think he does exactly what he needs to with Shanahan. I think Shanahan likes him. I don't think that Mac Jones is like playing him out of a job or anything like that people seem to believe. I think Purdy's going to come back and start winning games and start scoring fantasy points, and everybody's going to people will never stop doubting Brock Purdy, but I think like the antsiness to include him in this tier will go away. Bo Nix is the guy that scares me by far the most here. That guy is not good at playing the quarterback position.
I agree.
From what we've seen this year.
I agree. Look, if you want to just hate on Bo Nix, real life quarterback, sign me the fuck up. Nobody likes to hate Bo Nix more. So like, if you want to throw him down, I think that's fine. I just think like, I think he is good enough to keep this job at least for the medium term. Like, I would bet that he gets a second contract from the Broncos. I wouldn't bet it at -400, but I'd bet it at -200. And like, as long as he is a starting quarterback for Sean Payton with his skill set, which is like a very, very fantasy friendly skill set. He is awesome at running. He's awesome at chucking the ball 60 yards down the field. Like, that's fun for fantasy. His consistency down to down can be questioned in a pretty major way. And even his consistency for fantasy can be questioned in a pretty major way. Like, the way he gets to his QB9 performance is like a mix of what the fuck is this guy doing on a football field to he scored 39 points. And sometimes in the same game. But I don't know. His fantasy upside to me is intriguing enough combined with his age and offensive environment that I think he belongs there. But in my real rankings, I do not have him in the same tier as Caleb, Love, and Dart. But like, based on how we're compressing this list into 5 tiers, I do think he's a step ahead of at least most of the rest of these guys. I think you could make an argument for other guys that are below to be in this tier too, if anyone wants to. But those were the guys I had.
Yeah, I'm just scanning the list right now to try to see if there's anyone I feel should be in here.
I struggle with Jordan Love. I really struggle with Jordan Love. He either scores 30 points, it feels like, or like 15. Like, I have a hard time.
That's an average of 22.
I have a hard time looking at him not like he's just like a Jared Goff type player to me. I have a hard time putting him up here, and I think maybe it's just me. Like, I would so much rather have Caleb Williams so far and away. I would rather have Jackson Dart so far and away. I don't think he's even in the same tier as those guys for me. But
I get it. But like, he has been a fringy QB1 basically the entire time that he's been starting. And he's 27. And I think of all of these guys in this tier, with probably the exception of Baker at this point, but he's 32 or whatever his age is, Love would be the guy that I'm the next most confident is a very good NFL starting quarterback who is going to be an NFL quarterback for the next 5 to 10 years. So like, I would... That's why I think he's in this. I think he is a floor play compared to other guys. Like, if we're talking about who's most likely to jump up a tier, Caleb, Dart, Nix even are all significantly more likely from an upside perspective. And I get it, Tom, that like, I think you correctly play for ceiling at quarterback, and you don't sort of spend a premium on what I view as kind of floor plays. But I do think based on his age, based on how he has performed as a real life quarterback, based on the scheme he's in, I think he's like a bit of a cut above what I would view as similar guys like Goff. But I get your argument for sure. Like I don't love Jordan Love at his value, but I feel like he fits in here.
Yeah, I guess it's just an issue I have with that entire tier. More or less, like I wish there was one more, because I would have a tier of where Caleb and Dart and Bo probably are on their own because they run, but maybe not Bo. He's the riskiest of that group. But
well, you just made another tier. Why don't do we all agree Caleb and Dart are like a half tier above the rest of these guys? I'd be fine with that. Look at that. We just did it.
Yeah.
There we go.
I feel like that's so much talk about we need more tiers. Let's just make more tiers.
Yeah, I feel like to me, I feel like that's cinema.
Yeah, I support that.
All
right.
Okay, looking at it this way, there are two guys.
Oh wait, did we lose E, or there's no E here because no one gets an E in school?
Yeah, E's not a real thing. Why would there be an E tier? That's never.
I don't know.
But and looking at this new C tier, there's a couple names I want to at least bring up. I don't know if I feel incredibly strong about them. One would be Dak Prescott, who to me is like not that different than Baker in any way. They're totally I think within a year or two of each other, maybe the same age, very close. They score pretty similarly. Dak arguably has, or I'd say
2 years.
They have like
Dak's 32 and Baker's 30.
Okay, so a 2-year difference. Maybe that's enough to be a half tier below or whatever. But I think they're similarly set up for fantasy success from like a supporting cast standpoint for the near future. Dak arguably more so, just because the Cowboys have no idea how to build a defense or how to fix a roster. Yeah, to me, like they're both just going to be fringe QB1s the entire time they are starting in the NFL until one day that they're washed. I don't know if I want to split hairs so hard between 2 years at the quarterback position when guys can go for half a decade longer than we expect. So I would, I would argue for Dak.
I'll be honest. I thought he was 34. I don't know why I thought that, but I thought he was 34. Now learning that he is in fact 32, I support that. I'll throw out one more name. I don't really agree with this, but you guys like this guy way more than I do, so I'm surprised you haven't mentioned him yet. JJ McCarthy.
He'll be in the D tier for me.
Yeah,
he'll be in the D tier for me. He had a really good start to the game.
I wanted to mention.
Yeah, I like that he ran. Right, he had a little bit of running in there. I liked to see that. He looked a little bit disjointed
in that first 15 scripted plays.
Yeah, he looked really
great
good
after that,
but there's some things. That's Detroit. That's not exactly a walk in the park. The pressure was insane. He was getting bullied. That's a tough game to go in and hammer out. But just from a fantasy production standpoint, I liked the running. The running was something that I was watching for 9 times. It was only 12 yards. He did score, so it was in the red zone, threw 2 like that's just kind of the offense. So in 2 games he's played non-injured, right? 25 to 24 points. That's the first half where he put up quite a few points and a second half where he put up quite a few points. Maybe one day we're going to get a full quarter game. He's going to score 50 points. I think he's young enough that he's not like dead to me, but I don't know if there's enough to separate him from these other guys. I will say I'd rather him over Bo Nix long term.
I was just going to say it'll take like 2 more good games out of JJ McCarthy for me to take him over Bo Nix. So it sounds like you're already there, Tom. So we're of similar minds there. Yeah, they would definitely be like bottom and top of the tier for me. But
yeah,
I mean, it seems fair enough. Like I'm still like a pretty big McCarthy skeptic. I thought that the early victory laps on a 143-yard game sub 6 yards per attempt were a little much for me this weekend. But he looked.
I'll say those. All right. For anyone, look, there's a couple of like weird JJ McCarthy could have my children with my wife type fan accounts that I think are absurd. I will say he went from like dead and should play in the CFL to coming onto the field and throwing touches. So for me, I was like, all right, that was good enough.
I'll be honest, like I am experiencing the same thing with JJ McCarthy that I've long experienced with Justin Fields, but just that he has a certain fan base that is so weirdly cultish about him that it like negatively polarizes me to wish for his failure. And I'll just acknowledge that straight away. He definitely looked improved despite, I think, him not looking quite as good as some people thought. And he at least looked good enough that like the nightmare scenario of they just ditch this guy fully next year. I won't say it's like a 0% chance from one game, but it reduced significantly. So that I think you're feeling way better about from JJ. I continue to think we still need. Yeah,
I was gonna say I already admitted I conceded that I should have sold when you told me to, but I'm not ready to. I'm not pivoting, but I'm
also to buy right now because I do agree he's like 3 games from being in the B tier.
Yeah,
he could be 3 games from being in the B tier for sure.
Yeah,
he's 3 more half of games from staying in the D tier until next season.
Yeah, Max Brosmer is already in the B tier, but the next guy I'll throw out as a potential C, potential D. Actually, I wasn't even going to throw at him yet, but I could. I was going to throw out the MVP of the National Football League, Sam Darnold.
Oh, Sammy D? Sammy D is in like...
I'd put him in D, but I think there's an argument for C.
There's an argument for C, but at the end of the day, I need to make sure those wheels don't fall off. I've done this before. All right. I need to see it. I think D tier is fine. I don't think his value can ever get up that way because his name is Sam Darnold and there'll forever be like a dynasty stink to him. But
it's the Baker Mayfield thing where the value ceiling is just capped, even if
value ceiling is just really depressed.
It's awesome and continues.
And he hasn't.
Yeah.
Now this week obviously was different, but prior to this week, like he also, as good as he'd been in real life, he had not been that great for fantasy. He'd been a mid QB2 for most of the year until this week. So like, and I do think like all the credit in the world to Sam Darnold. He's been phenomenal this year.
Yeah, he lit up Tampa Bay too.
He's been absolutely fantastic. But I do think to some degree, like it's a little bit, and I think he's probably better. He's definitely better. It's a little bit of the Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee thing where like nerds like me were like, just let him throw all the time. Like, look at how efficient he is. And it's like, actually, they probably were onto something of like, we're putting him in these favorable spots with the run heavy offense. And this is how we're going to get the most out of him. I do think they've created an environment for Sam Darnold that is maxing out his efficiency and everything he does well. And probably there is a bit of a glass ceiling where if they did decide, fuck it, we're going +5 PROE rest of season, like get your fantasy points, like we probably wouldn't still see him be the most efficient quarterback in the NFL. So I agree with the D tier, but I wanted to throw him out there and give some respect. I also think wherever we put Sam Darnold, it's probably a pretty decent place to put Daniel Jones, who has a lot of similarities in age and fantasy scoring. And I mean, look,
he's a better.
If you had any questions, if you had any questions about whether Daniel Jones was going to get a big extension from the Indianapolis Colts, which I thought was kind of ludicrous, that I saw so many takes today being like, this means they're going to extend him. I was like, buddy, they've been extending him. Like I promise you they were going to extend him. They don't have a first round pick until 2028. So you can write that for your extension in ink. So he goes in there, I think clearly. And the other guy that I think is fascinating to discuss between C and D, once upon a time, used to be a lot higher on this list. Coleridge Stroud Jr.
Yeah, that's going to be a D tier for me. Yeah, pretty easily.
Okay,
I don't understand I don't understand the Bo Nix stuff. I know Chad is like Bo Nix. Like, he's been brutal. He scores points, but he as a quarterback has been awful until the fourth quarter of games against.
Am I the high guy on Bo Nix right now? I'm used to being a Bo Nix hater.
I think that Bo Nix should be in the B tier, but it's like y'all were talking
God,
about moving him down to
turntable.
D. I'm like, oh my goodness! I won't
What's
say
going
he's
on
so
right now?
into
I'm taking
D.
the pro side of a Bo Nix argument with
Our
Tom. We're in like a
entire-
reverse world.
Our like entire charting team like wants to throw up every time they have to talk about
I
him.
agree. I fucking hate Bo Nix. It's so funny to me. You guys are usually like him more than I do.
I liked Bo Nix before like his price went up. I liked 111 Bo Nix. I love 201 Bo Nix. Hell, I was even vibing for like a 110 Bo Nix. But Bo Nix in that upper echelon where you got to pay for him.
But that's not the point of us doing the tiers. I look at also like how does the rest of the fantasy community value him? If you're having to pay to get Bo Nix, then I don't think he should be at the bottom of the C tier. I know we're not doing tops and bottoms, but I don't think he's fringe D tier. Fantasy managers are willing to pay for Bo Nix. They've consistently showed that. They're going to show it whenever we're doing startup drafts again next season. And that's just something that I think we're going to have to live with. You can give me that look, Tom. I know he's not going to be drafted onto your
Lucas,
new
you can
teams.
top Bo Nix or you can bottom Bo Nix, whatever works for you.
All right, like I'm just saying how the fantasy community looks at him.
Do you think they look at him as more of a top or a bottom?
Well, let's see.
I think he's got swagger. I think he's a top.
No, he is definitely a bottom. Have you seen the photos of him and like his backups in like the matching pajamas on Christmas last year?
That's
Am I
Zach
the only one
Wilson.
that had to see this?
Oh, that's
with
a little
Zach
bottom.
Wilson
You know
and
what's-
Jarrett Stidham.
You know who's
That was
definitely a
very
bottom is
coded.
Josh Downs. Has anything been more bottom coded than being number one and your
Oh
team
my
trades for a new
God.
player and then you literally change numbers to number two? That is like the most
That's
beta
some-
behavior I've ever seen in my life.
That is beta behavior. But Bo Nix, you can buy apparently if you look around like Chase Brown in a second for Bo Nix. That's not upper tier. Aaron Rodgers in a 1 for Bo Nix. That's not upper tier. I'm just saying the prices are all over the place. Just pointing that out. Tua and Trevion Henderson for Bo Nix. It's just not trades that like wow me.
All right, so let's do one more tier, and we're not going to use everyone. Obviously, we'll essentially treat like there's a tier beneath the tier list where the dregs of society go.
But really quick before we move on, I just want to pose the question. CJ Stroud is the one guy that film bros are still defending. Is this like should we care? Is really my question.
I'll still defend. I will still defend CJ Stroud, real life NFL quarterback. But it's just like for what? Like he doesn't run ever, and like he's obviously not as good as he looked like he was going to be from a real life perspective from a rookie year. So like it's like yeah, sure. I think he is way better at football than he has looked in this offense. I have several criticisms of the Texans offense if we want to do like a real life football podcast about the Texans. But it's just like if you're not good enough to transcend a terrible offense and your offense is terrible currently, and you don't run, then it's just like I don't think it matters that much if he's better than this. Like it's like, okay, so eventually his offensive, if we're right, and his offensive environment eventually changes, then he will join the C tier.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I will say he started to play better like 3 out of his last 4. Right, we're well over 20. Won the big 37 against surprise Baltimore, and then the game against beat up 49ers team. Like he was kind of starting to do well. So I think from a safety standpoint, he probably goes in that D tier. Production, I don't even think he belongs with Darnold and Jones, but just for safety, can I just say Kyler not being on this list yet? Like, where does Kyler go now?
I think he's in the. I don't know if he's even going to make the F because I have names out of him. There's one more for sure name we should put in D. We just bypassed Jared Goff, but he definitely
Jared Goff for sure. But I think he probably belongs in D. He's going to start again. Like he can also score points. Yeah, I think.
I don't know about that. I would not put him for D. I would trade Kyler and a 2 for any of the names in D.
See, I'm going to say that Michael Penix should be in D.
Ooh,
Sorry,
Michael Penix should be in D.
that's a no for me. I think.
I mean, the only reason why we have McCarthy in there is he's had fewer games to look bad in. Like,
Well, that's true, and that's important. And also, he runs.
yeah, he's a little more, not much more, but he's definitely got a little bit more mobile in him.
I'd be Penix down in F personally, but if you want to,
I'd put Kyler and Penix in F then.
For context, the names I would put in F would be Penix, Kyler,
Lawrence,
Ward, Young.
Stafford?
Basically all the quarterbacks. Oh, Stafford, yeah.
Because Stafford's
And
in there until he retires.
I don't know if anyone else deserves to make the list. Unless you're seeing someone. Because we got what? We got like one more year of Rodgers and Geno probably as QB2s, and then it's probably over.
Flacco 2.
You may as well just rather have Flacco.
I might have said Rattler a couple weeks ago. It's kind of sad.
Should we put Shuck? Should we put Shuck in F?
No.
Tua in F. Let's put Tua in F.
Tua does go in F.
I don't think he's long for the Dolphins, but I do think he gets a chance to start somewhere else.
Yeah. We're not putting
put Fields.
No.
I think we're done with Fields. I think we're finally mercifully done with the Justin Fields experience.
Justin Fields, I tweeted this. Justin Fields has been so bad. The New York Jets looked in the mirror and said, "We're the problem," and started a rebuild. Like that's how inspiring he had been for the New York Jets. So, I'm pretty well done. I like this new tier that Ryan is creating, the booty tier. We can put Fields in.
Where do we want to put Shuck?
In booty tier.
We're not giving Shuck the F tier.
No, Spencer Rattler
got
right,
fair enough. Fair enough.
Spencer Rattler got done so dirty. Shuck is so bad. So bad.
Spencer Rattler was a 5th round pick. Tyler Shuck was a 2nd round pick at least. And Spencer Rattler was not a good prospect. Cry harder,
Rattler in the booty tier. I still think Spencer Rattler's better than Bo Nix at real life football.
Shuck is awful, brother. I don't care where they get. He was a higher round draft pick by the same team that traded a 4th round pick for Vele and then traded Shaheed away for a 4th round pick.
That's the trouble. Like
draft slot.
It's so hard to defend the Saints
from the trade as a standing point is laughably hilarious. Shuck is woefully bad. Hilarious. I'd rather.
How can you say how bad Shuck is whenever we have one game worth of data and he wasn't like terrible?
Yeah, like 70 fucking million worth of the data. He's been college since the Clinton administration.
I'm just talking about NFL, man. That's all I'm talking about.
Claiming we don't have enough tape on Tyler Shuck.
Hey,
we have endless tape.
His first touchdown pass went to the tight end that he was a teammate with in college, and one of them's a 6-year
4 colleges ago.
That's
Tyler
insane.
Shuck has been in our lives so long that Billy used to talk about him all the time because Billy was attending Texas Tech and was a co-host of this show when Tyler Shuck was their quarterback. That's like half decade ago.
I thought that he got to Texas Tech after Billy.
He did. He no, he didn't. I specifically remember there was like a game that Billy was sweating while we were on the podcast, and he was like, "Tyler Shuck just like threw this game winner in double overtime." And then I never knew that we'd have to care about Tyler Shuck.
I'm sorry.
Other guys that I think belong in the booty tier: Geno, Rodgers, Flacco, basically all the guys who are currently starting. And then Fields for sure belongs in there. It's half
Mac
a chance.
Jones?
And I'd put Anthony Richardson in there.
Agreed.
Might wash up the shore some other time.
Bryce Young.
Oh, Bryce Young's go up in the F tier.
F. I think he's booty.
I think he's F. He's going to be starting next year.
I think he's terrible. I think he's gonna play out his rookie contract, and they're going to be bottom of the league in PBRO the entire time.
The Panthers, by the way, are 5-4, which is hilarious.
Just because
they are 5-4. Bryce Young has 1 game above 200 passing yards this year.
He's terrible.
That's how they want it.
I would rather
This guy is
Flacco,
just
Rogers, whoever
They
that
have
guy is
Rico,
next
Peyton Hillis, Dowdle that they have just built their entire
do.
team around. And
insane.
yeah.
What about Mac? Mac Jones should go in the booty.
Mac should go in the booty. I think he has a decent chance of starting at some point.
I'd rather have Mac Jones than
Yeah.
Bryce Young in Dynasty, probably. I like.
Oh,
That's probably
is
it.
there anybody else?
I guess we have to do Dylan Gabriel.
Can we push?
Just because
Yeah,
he
Dylan
is starting
Gabriel.
games.
I
Oh,
think
that-
I'd rather have Shadur.
That's
honestly.
yeah. Shadur is definitely starting. The Colt is starting to.
If we're putting Dylan there. We're putting Shadur there. Speaking of
have to.
annoying cult quarterbacks, I mean,
oh my
Yeah,
god.
And I'm on talk too
does
much.
anyone follow Josina Anderson on Twitter? It's just an experience.
No, but I do see enough of it. I've watched enough videos where the Browns algorithm has warped into my TikTok now, and I just sit there and I send screenshots of the comment section to Ryan while he's busy trying to work, and I'm sifting through TikTok comments. It's an illness. It is there's an illness.
People are mentally ill about Shadur Sanders.
They ruined this #1 overall draft pick just to spite Dion, who I hate to tell you this, but Colorado is like 14th in their conference in recruiting rank right now, if I'm not mistaken. There's a little tidbit of Devy football that you probably didn't think I would ever pull up there, Lucas, but that's how locked into this Shadur thing that I've been on TikTok. Brutal. I think that's a pretty good tier list. I think we'll screenshot that. I think let's put it up there so I can screenshot it, and we'll post it on Twitter tomorrow.
I'm dreading the Shadur Sanders starts, like
Me too.
the social media discourse and everything that I have. Like I just it's gonna be one of the worst experiences ever. I will say, like, I historically have like avoided all weird cults for day 3 quarterbacks. I was never part of the Minshew cult. I was not part of the Howell cult. I was not part of the Heineke cult.
You were a
Any
rich
such
guy,
cult.
though. Wasn't he a day?
I was day two.
Oh.
But yeah, I was a weird Ritter cultist. I'm ready to be the most annoying person on behalf of Spencer Rattler, who was completely disregarded unjustly by the New Orleans Saints. And it was a hateful act. It was a selfish act, and Spencer Rattler will rise again somewhere as the 28th best quarterback of the National Football League.
Okay. Have I been under a rock? When did you all like Spencer Rattler? This feels like brand new information to me.
No, I like Spencer. I love Rattler pre-draft. Like I have tweets that first aged really badly and then aged a lot better, and then recently have started to age poorly again, being like, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. He's way better than Michael Penix and Bo Nix, and I still agree with those tweets. They're still right.
I think he's just going to be better. I think he's just going to end up being better for Chris Olave, which is why I like Rattler. And yeah, I don't
think that he is like awesome. I just think that like he did not play bad enough to deserve losing his job, is my take. I get why they did what they did, because they took Tyler Shock for reasons I don't understand, and so they, I guess, have to get a look at him. But like, Spencer Rattler is one of the best 32 quarterbacks in this league, and he should get another start. And I'm going to be the most annoying Sam Howell stan about him.
I think Rattler's probably starting again by like week 15. I think they let Shuck look bad for a couple months, and they get like their evaluation, and they say, okay, we've evaluated both guys. We're going to play the guy that was better for the last
We've
couple
evaluated
games
both,
of the
and we're
season.
drafting Mendoza.
Yeah. Like that is probably how it goes, but yeah. I think Rattler could be playing games again in 2025. I'm not like
Spencer Rattler, Arizona Cardinals quarterback 2026. Come on.
Can we? I think we've spent enough time on Spencer Rattler.
Gosh.
No, let's do another hour.
Let's. No, we can't do that. We're gonna take a quick break, and we come back. We're gonna finish this thing up. Don't go anywhere. Sit tight.
The Colts were woke. We'd let Daniel Jones walk. We'd start Spencer Rattler in 2026.
45 seconds? Nah, that. This ad is over after I say fantasypoints.com.
That is a diabolical statement, Jacob. Diabolical. All right, let's finish this up. First, player picks. We can do this really quick. This week, I'm playing Rodgers, Harvey, Shaheed, and Andrews. Jacob, who do you got?
Well, first, we should announce the standings. I almost got into first place, but Ryan has me by literally 1 point right now. Tom in third, Lucas in fourth. I will be playing this week Jakobi Brissett, the Cardinals' new starting quarterback. I'll unfortunately be playing Kenneth Walker. I'll be playing Christian Watson, so I'm just doing Ryan Heath bits at this point. And I'll be playing Zach Ertz.
All right, I like it. Ryan?
I honestly saw Tez Johnson and then just like stopped looking at the wide receivers. If Christian Watson had entered my mind, I would definitely have picked him. I'm playing Mariota against the Lions. David Montgomery back against Mariota. Tez Johnson and Theo Johnson.
All the Johnsons.
You know, it's a rough time whenever you have two Houston Texans in your lineup, but I'm going with Michael Penix against Indy, Woody Marks against Jacksonville because Jacksonville just gives up a bunch of stuff to pass, Rashad Bateman at Minnesota, and Dalton Schultz. So I don't like this at all, but I'm in last place, so
you got to take your shot. Dalton Schultz has been like kind of sneaky good.
He's had like 3 good weeks in a row.
Yeah. Guru's all over Dalton Schultz every week, and every week I laugh at him, and then I always end up being wrong. All right, we got a couple things.
The Texans, by the way, now that we already talked about them, they ran Jalen Nolan 6 routes this week. Like, just be fucking serious for once.
It's
Houston
insane.
Texans. Like,
I knew it was coming.
I knew it would happen because I expect the absolute worst out of the Texans, but like. The respect that DeMeco Ryans seems to have among NFL media and decision makers is so unwarranted. This guy stinks. And they've had 2 different OCs who both apparently stink, which makes me just blame the head coach. That organization is rotten and they are backwards, and I can't stand them. Yeah, I like that they're in our division.
Knew literally the moment I hit post on the, hey guys, look, Jalen Noel is like blowing out every other Texans receiver in per route stats over the last however many quarters. Like, look, he's so amazing. It's going to be great. I knew the second I posted it that it was, it would be Kirk. 6 routes next.
And we're playing Christian Kirk, and you will like it.
That's funny. All right, we got some comments we got to get to before we sign off here. JP said, what kind of MFer stands up for candy corn? He says, I'm done. So, Ryan, they were not impressed that you are out there touting for candy corn. We had Professor Chaos ask, did I come to the wrong place? What is this, under an hour? Don't got to worry about that this week. Geez, there was another one that I really wanted to get to. He said, podcast listener, but had to come to YouTube to second Shockers. Non-derogatory, best opinion in this show's history. That is a 5-year history, so pretty big there. And then I just need to address this one. Ravens fan is a Blue Jays fan. Explain yourself. And followed that up with someone followed this up with 100% was just going to type the same thing. How are you not an O's fan? Lamar/Vlad bandwagon jock sniffer vibes. Well, geography doesn't dictate my fandom per se. I'm just going to get the allegations out of the way here. First off, I saw Vinny Testaverde score the very first touchdown in Baltimore Ravens history. It was a 10-yard scramble, by the way. He is Italian. My family is Italian. So when there was an Italian starting quarterback, you better believe that is where my family chose to lay its loyalty. And I have been a Baltimore Ravens fan ever since I could understand what being a fan was. I'm from Guelph, Ontario, which is like an hour away from Toronto. So I have grown up a Blue Jays fan. The fandom that you need to be the most confused on is why I like Rutgers. I don't know why I watched or how I watched Rutgers games growing up. Unfortunately, that is where my collegiate football ties lie, which is probably why I have such disdain for Devi. So that's that. That is why. I'm not in Baltimore. I am not from Baltimore. I am from Winnipeg, Canada. I know and have watched probably more Blue Jays baseball and Ravens football than one person should ever actually actively put themselves through. I've earned my stripes. Anyway, that's our show for this week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to drop this tier sheet on Twitter. Leave a comment. That'll be at Dynasty PTS. Dynasty PTS. I was about to say PTSD. I was thinking about Kyle Bowler, football for the Baltimore Ravens again. This is going to pass out. That's it. That's it for us. Be on the lookout for the mini pods. Be on the lookout for the market report and everything else Dynasty Points related. Just released a new Dynasty Points tier trade chart that is in the Discord. That will be going up at fantasypoints.com. I have made some improvements, some adjustments with more on the way. So let's hop in there. Those links are also in the description. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. For Jacob Sanderson, Ryan Heath, and Lucas Gilbert, and shout out Spencer Rattler. Remember that clear-eyed, full hearts never leave. That your best days are always spent making Lucas tilt his absolute brains off. Buddy.
What? Why are you shaking your head? You're welcome.